Hi grade 7s, I'm just doing a quick explanation of today's worksheet in your fill-in book, the multiples and the factors, or actually you're doing it in your workbook, right? So remember from last year we learned that multiples means counting in. So if you're asked for the first multiples of 125, like here at number 2 for example, you'll start with 125. It is the first multiple will be the number itself, and you count in 125s 8 times. Okay, so I'm helping you with this here. Let me just see if I make this a little smaller. 375, 500, 625. I'm going to go on underneath 750, 875, and then 1000. And that's your 8 multiples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that should ring a little bit of a bell, because one thing I've always been very serious about is that you learn that 8 times 125 gives me 1000. So that should ring a bell. That's one of the extra timetables that I've always asked you to learn for tests and exams. Okay, the next one we're going to look at now is when they ask you to do the multiples here. Let me do this in a different color. List the multiples of 7, but they say between 47 and 70. Now let's look at our 7 times table. You know that 7 times 6 is 42, right? And 7 times 7 will be 49. Now they ask me for the multiples of 7 between 47 and 70. Guys, then you cannot include 47. 47 is not a multiple of 7. The closest we're going to get is either 42 or 49, but they want us to go larger because they say between 47 and 70. So you have to start with the number 49. Your list is going to start with the number 49, okay? Not 47. Be careful about that. And then you count in 7. So that was 7 times 7. Then I'm just going to do, okay, 7 times 8 is 56. And 7 times 9 is 63. And then obviously 7 times 10 is 70. They said between those two numbers, so you shouldn't really be including the 70 because you're only looking for what's in the middle and not the two side ones. Okay, so you have these 3 answers then for that number 3. Then let's look at some factors at number 5 here. When we have factors, remember now factors is always the number itself and a bunch of smaller numbers, because factors means the numbers that this number can be divided by. And last year I said to you, don't attempt to just go write down the factors, do them in factor pairs. So we're going to take the number 32. I'm just writing where I find space here. I'm going to take the number 32. And I'm going to start with the number 1. 1 times 32 is 32. That's easy enough. Then, can it divide by 2? Yes, it's an even number, so it can divide by 2. So 2 times 16. And this is where your rules of division becomes very handy, because you can check, does it go into 3, does it go into 4, does it go into 5, if you know your rules of division. So last year we spent time on them, and I'll just remind you about them again this year. That's how I know it can divide by 2 because it's an even number. Now I'm checking 3, and remember, to see if something can go into 3, I say, well, what is 3 plus 2? That's 5. Oh, but 5 won't go into 3, so this number will also not be divisible by 3. And then it will divide by 4. That's just because the last 2 digits does go into 4. That's the rule. So it's 4 times 8. That will give me 32. And then I can try 5, but it doesn't end in a 0 or a 5, this number, so 5 won't work. 6, well, it has to be divisible by 2 and by 3 to be divisible by 6, so it also won't, because it's not divisible by 3, it won't be divisible by 6. And then the next one we're going to do is divisible by 7. No, it's not. We just looked at our 7 times table, and then 8 is the next one, and I already have 8. So now if you want to list these factors, you can just make a little list. The list will then read 1, to, I'm going from small to big, 1, 2, 4, and then 8, 16, and 32. There's my factors. Now, let's quickly have a look lastly at prime factors. Okay, so prime factors are actually a simple concept. It's factors of a number, but only the ones that are prime numbers. So if we look at 32, for example, the prime factors here will be these ones that are prime numbers. Now, what do I have that's prime numbers? 2 is a prime number. So that's then the only prime number in that list. And so that would be the prime factor of 32. So remember, you know what prime numbers are. We've looked at that earlier this or last week, remember? And you still have that list which you can page back to go look at the prime numbers. And you know now what factors are again. And a prime factor is just in your list of factors that you've made, which ones are prime numbers. And then you'll remember from last year that we can use factor trees as a shortcut to finding the prime factor. So I'm going to do one factor tree here just to remind you. It says at number 2.2, list the prime factors of 24. So to find them, I could go make a list of all the factors of 24 and just go circle the prime numbers. But it's easier for me to actually go do a little factor tree. Now remember, we always use prime numbers in a factor tree. So we start with the smallest prime number, which is 2, and we divide by 2. That's then 12. So basically you're halving, hey? And I half that again. That's then 6. And you'll see these 2's, they stay where they are because they are the leaves of my tree. They are done. Prime numbers is the goal, right? So we've got 2's there, but the 6 can still go further. So the 6 then becomes a 2 and a 3. That one I can now circle, that's a prime number, but 3 is also a prime number. So now I've broken 24 into a list of prime numbers. If you were asked to write 24 as a product of its prime factors, you would find that 24 equals 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, okay? You're going to use that in high school. It actually helps you a lot with a bunch of things. It's a shortcut. For now, that's the list. But guys, what factors do you really see there? There's a bunch of 2's. So if you were to just say the prime factors, you would say it's 2 and it's 3. It's got a 2 and it's got a 3. Although there's more than one 2's, you don't really have to mention them unless they ask you to give the product of the prime factors, okay? So in this case, you don't have to write it this way. You just go do 2 and 3 as its prime factors. I hope that helped. Good luck.